we pivoted 12 times throughout Y-Combinator. That's not an exaggeration. We applied with a different idea. Then when we got to the interview, we had another idea. Then when we actually joined Y-Combinator, we had another idea there. We had a different idea by the time we finished the retreat, which is like the kick. Roughly like a month after that, we finally landed on the email personalization. While we were selling that email personalization tool ourselves, Sai and I needed discovery call practice. We knew that we weren't performing well. We were getting plenty of advice from incredible sales influencers, but it was so hard to actually put that advice into practice. We didn't have like a manager who could role play with us. So we went and built a product that was capable of doing that for us. And we happened to go to a conference where we were mostly selling our previous email personalization product. We just happened to mention what we were working on. And the way that everyone's eyes lit up in the room, it was incredible. People were like, I'll pay you for this. I want this tomorrow.
We're all familiar with sales role plays, right? You sit with your manager and your manager pretends to be the prospect and your manager will throw objections at you and you have to be able to handle them. We took that whole experience and essentially automated it and put it on a platform where instead of doing that role play with your manager, you do that role play with an AI.
Hey, welcome back to the SDR Hire podcast. I'm your host, Stefan, and if you're new to this channel, this is a place where you can learn from top producing salespeople what it's like working in tech sales, how do you break in, what do companies look for, how to get promoted, and how to succeed in tech sales. Today, I'd like to introduce you to a couple of new friends that I made recently. Atul and Sai are the co-founders of one of the most impressive AI tools for SDRs I've come across recently, maybe even ever. The guys have built a tool called Hyperbound. It's a tool that allows you to practice cold calling with AI decision makers. Now, from what I can tell, this tool has just taken the whole tech sales community by storm and swept everybody off their feet. It sure did sweep me off my feet. So Atul and Sai were kind enough to jump on the pod and talk to me about how they built this crazy good tool. So guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Amazing. Beautiful. So this is the first thing that really caught my attention is the fact that you guys have almost nothing to do with the tech sales community, sales in general. So I know, Atul, you've been a machine learning developer in, Amazon, I think, and Facebook, and Sai, you as well. You've been software developers. How did this even happen in the first place?
That is a great question, right? So yeah, both of our backgrounds are absolutely engineers. So we both, I'm a machine learning engineer, Sai's a full stack engineer on his end. And yeah, like this foray into the sales tech space is definitely something new for us. So we're learning a lot of sales technology or sales terminology and processes as we go along, of course. But yeah, like the reason why we ended up here is because we're like experts in modeling conversations. We're conversational AI people, right? So we decided to, we were really intrigued by the space around discovery calls and cold calls. And we decided to spend a lot of time, researching it, making connections in the space, building out our knowledge set around this and modeling the conversation in the space. And the reception and the welcoming, the welcoming nature of this community has just been incredible. Like, I'm so happy we picked this space to venture into. Like, Sai, we've met such incredible people. Like, you want to share a couple of those stories?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny because, like Atul mentioned, we're both engineers, not originally salespeople. And, we kind of just entered the space, felt like we had a lot of ideas, a lot of thoughts and dreams. And we just kind of came in with this, with a couple products and, just learned so much, man, in a matter of like 5-6 months. Like this is the most I've ever learned in my entire life. And, I think especially the influencers and the sales thought leaders out there, like they've really been a big part of that journey.
I can imagine. What were the other alternatives that you guys were considering?
So we actually originally started in the email space, right? Because modeling, email conversations is a little bit simpler than modeling, like real life-like conversations, right? So we started there. We were doing email personalization. And honestly, I think we did a really good job at it. So while we were selling that email personalization tool ourselves, Sai and I needed discovery call practice because we were hopping on tons of discovery calls. We were getting demos booked for that product and we were hopping on these discovery calls. And we knew that we weren't performing well. It was very obvious to us to know, what we weren't doing correctly. It's just we needed to know like how we could fix that. We were getting plenty of advice from incredible sales influencers in the space on what to do, but it was so hard to actually put that advice into practice, right? We needed like at bats, trying out these scripts, trying out these methodologies before, we were actually able to confidently execute on them. And there was just, we didn't have like a manager, who could role play with us. So we just went and built that. So we went and built a product that was capable of doing that for us. And we happened to go to a conference where we were mostly selling our previous email personalization product. We just happened to mention what we were working on. And the way that everyone's eyes lit up in the room, it was incredible, right? People were like, I'll pay you for this. I want this tomorrow. So we decided to look into it a little bit more seriously. And here we are.
How long was that ago?
It was November. Not very long ago at all.
November? Yeah, October, November, sometime around then.
That was like a few months ago. Because I actually had this feeling that you guys were around a bit longer than that. Although I know that, you kind of landed on my radar pretty recently. But still, that's just super impressive and super crazy. And the funny thing is, as you were talking, I'm just thinking, there's like a gazillion tools helping you personalize cold emails. Some are good, some are bad. Doesn't matter. But like the space is saturated like hell. On the other hand, the cold calling space is just underserved completely, at least from this, tool perspective. And so it was just a no-brainer when I came across you guys and tried out the bots. And maybe you guys can give a quick intro to the audience, what the tool actually does, at least in your own words. I did a quick intro, but you guys could probably do a better job of pitching it.
So, we're all familiar with sales role plays, right? Like where you sit with your manager and your manager pretends to be the prospect, and you try to role play the, different types of scenarios, right? Your manager will throw objections at you and you have to be able to handle them. So basically, we took that whole experience and essentially automated it and put it on a platform where instead of doing that role play with your manager, you do that role play with an AI, right? And the AI, in fact, is actually very objective. It's not biased like a human being would be. And, it's also a domain expert in whatever you train it in. So let's say your ICP is like going after data engineers, right? Our AI will pretend to be a really good data engineer that knows all everything about, the space, about the problems, pain points, challenges. And that way it's like a very accurate representation when your rep actually goes and role plays with this AI rather than, what a real life role play would look like. So, that's what the tool does. And, it's free to use. You can go to our website and just try it out for yourself if you don't believe us.
I actually, it was hard for me to believe that this was actually completely true. And it took me a while to understand that there is actually a free version. So everybody who wants to try it out can. And by the way, I told you, and I discussed this last time when we were chatting, but I think that's just a brilliant marketing tactic, whether you plan for it or not. But it's just like anyone can try and get, a very sophisticated level of AI role play. And to be honest, that's literally the way I trained with my sales reps or SDRs that I coach. We have role plays, and this is just brilliant. And I've tried it out myself. There's like Jane, the sales director. I already hate her. I think she has I managed to book a meeting with her just maybe once. It's really tough. It's like the real deal, and it makes me like, all right, so I need to step up my game. I need to make myself better, which is the whole point, and that's what you're unlocking to SDRs, right?
And it's also the opportunity to chat with someone who is like a faithful recreation of a decision maker, like a high level decision maker, right? It's really hard to get someone like even your manager to simulate like a CFO on the phone. But if you want like 20 tries against the CFO, the only way you're going to get it is simulation. And that's really what we're enabling here. So we're so excited for that.
I think what's also interesting is, the European rules around cold call recording, right? You want to talk about that?
Oh yeah, I'm sure Stefan can probably explain that way better than we can. But essentially, you can't record calls in Europe, right? Like your manager has to listen in on the live call. That's the only way they can coach you. But yeah, with a tool like this, because it's all in simulation, it's free game.
Exactly. There are a lot of limitations. I even actually, maybe this can even become a thing now because initially when I started doing SDR hire, I envisioned it as a Tinder for hiring salespeople. And so basically, you as a hiring manager could really scroll through profiles of people doing cold calls, and you could swipe. If you actually like somebody, they would get an interview set up, whatever. And the problem was people either wouldn't want to bother to upload those cold calls, and number two, they couldn't upload actual cold calls, even though I would like bleep out the thing out. Like it was just too hard, and sooner or later somebody would have found me and just shut me down because of privacy concerns, etc. But this kind of makes the game a lot more leveled for everybody. So who knows? Maybe I just restart this. But you probably are at least now you do understand how big of a deal this is. I actually think you guys are going to be a hell of a unicorn. But this is a game changer because something that would take a year for a sales rep to become really proficient at selling their stuff, it can happen in 2 weeks. So it's just insane. Is that something you've seen as well from your clients and prospects? What has been the feedback like?
Oh, I've got a beautiful anecdote to share with you, right?
Please.
So one of our customers, right? They're a design company. Like they like offer like design as a service, and they've been trying to book a meeting with Nike for the longest time, right? And what one of their reps did was they went into our platform. They built the actual decision maker that they were going to be speaking to. They practiced. They practiced with this decision maker, right? They put in the real objections they expected to hear, the real pain points. And right before hopping on the call, they did like 5 reps within our platform. And they hopped on the real call and they were finally able to book a meeting with this decision maker. Like the ability to do real-time practice whenever you need it and whenever you want it is just such a huge game changer for these companies. So yeah, like we're so stoked for that. And especially for the onboarding case as well. Like we've collected data that shows it takes roughly 400 call connects before an SDR truly becomes proficient at what they're selling. Obviously depends industry to industry, but roughly 400 call connects, right? And in our platform, you can get that in a week and a half. But depending on, oh, sorry, I meant call connects that turn into conversation. So call connects like over 30 seconds. So in our platform, you can get that in a week and a half. But in real life, that might take you anywhere from 2 to 9 months.
Exactly.
So like it's just insane.
Crazy story. I mean, I can just imagine. I'll be using it to practice with the SDRs in my community as well. And I think it's just picking up. I know you guys started working with Course Careers as well and other sales trainers, et cetera, et cetera. And I know that you've been signing a lot of clients, or at least like doing POCs or whatever. And so before we jump into that, I'm very interested in what your sales process looks like, especially considering you're selling a sales tool. How did you guys end up building this in the sense of like being a part of YC? So did this being a part of YC actually help you because you got exposure? Like, what did that look like? How did you get into YC, and how did it help you build this tool?
That's a great question. Yeah, our YC journey is a pretty funny story. So actually, we started in back in May 2023, so last year. And Atul was actually, he used to live in New York, and he was working on Meta at the time. I was working at another startup as a founding engineer. And Atul was coming back from New York to the Bay Area for some holidays, just like a 1 week, just to visit his family. And while he was on the flight, I just messaged him out of the blue, and I was like, "Hey man, like I'm thinking about applying to YC. Do you want to work on something together?" And instantly, like basically, like within the next 30 seconds, he responds and he's like, "Yes, I'm down." And I'm like, "You do realize that you have to like quit your job at Meta and drop everything to do this, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm down." and, and the decision was just so quick, right? And at this time, like we didn't even have an idea. It was just like, hey, like we both know we've got the skills. We both know we work well together. We're really close friends from high school. So, just we knew that we'd figure out something, but that's how it started. And he came for the holidays, and we just spent the entire 1 week that he was back basically just working on the Y-Combinator application, right? And it was like shooting in the dark. There's like a 7% chance of getting an interview, I believe, and we got it, which was crazy. 10-minute interview, and we thought we did really bad on the interview. Honestly, we were like very flustered after the interview, and then like 24 hours later, they reach out and tell us we're in, and that was like a life-changing moment right there. Because as soon as they say yes, that means you have like 500K in the bank, and there you go. Like you have a startup, and you're just getting started.
That's so crazy. What was the initial idea? Was the email personalization stuff?
This is a great question because it was not email personalization. We actually started off in the calling space. And like the very first idea was actually around calling, specifically around customer support calling, right? We wanted to like make that process less annoying, reduce like hold times. We figured out a way to automate some customer calls, but also like collect information prior to the time that, the rep actually connected with you. So, they have everything available to them like right before and making it all compliant. That was the whole product. We pivoted 12 times throughout Y Combinator. Like seriously, like that's not an exaggeration. Like we were pivoting all the time. We applied with a different idea. Then when we got to the interview, we had another idea then that we presented. Then when we actually joined Y Combinator, we had another idea there. We had a different idea by the time we finished the retreat, which is like the kickoff. And then roughly like a month after that, after like kicking around a couple of other ideas at group office hours, we finally landed on this like 1 month in the YC on the email personalization. We stuck with that until November. And I'm so happy we pivoted, by the way, into this product. The response for this has just been insane compared to any of the stuff we worked on before. But that's just the journey, right? You need to be open to like always be exploring, always be like understanding how your product is resonating with your audience. Like if you want to find product market fit, like you got to do a lot of those user interviews to get a pulse on the scene. And that's something we've been, I think, really, really good at is doing a ridiculous number of those user interviews.
The biggest learning from us from that whole process, and a lot of founders come to me and they're like, how'd you guys come up with the idea? Like how do I know if my product is working? I think there's only one answer to that, and that is to literally go talk to your customers, talk to potential prospects, ask them, do user interviews, like build only what they want. And we've done a really good job with that from day one, because we've just heard it a million times. Like the number one reason for startups failing is they just build shit that people don't want, right? So we're like, okay, let's just not do that. Let's just build what people want then. And that's been our mantra.
I mean, it's literally YC's motto is make something people want. And so we have a t-shirt with it and everything. But internalizing that is really hard because as engineers, you kind of you see things and you want to build. Like I see this problem. I think I know the solution. Let me go build it. But taking the step back to be like, okay, no, I'm actually going to be a user research designer for the next 3 months. I'm not going to build anything. I'm just going to research. Like that's hard.
Oh, I can imagine. It's probably a lot of keeping your ego in check, and because like basically the majority of your personality is in the building, in the like creating, but then now you have to become somebody else who is able to just shut up and listen and actually do things that people actually want. So
and that's how we became active on LinkedIn too. Like to get these user interviews, it was just like thousands and thousands of like cold outbound LinkedIn messages. And you know how grueling that is. Like we had like a 7% response rate on those, right?
I was about to ask you guys, so what was your initial go-to-market strategy, and is it any different now? So I'm assuming with like personalized cold emails, I can assume you guys were personalizing outreach through like LinkedIn DMs and cold emails, right? Was that like the initial phase of going to market?
So it was actually really funny. There's a great story around this. So Sriharsha and I were sending out like thousands of these messages between the two of us to reach out to people for like user interviews. And I got so frustrated. Like I was like, there are things we need to be building right now as well. And I'm spending like literally 80% of my day on LinkedIn reaching out to people. So I ended up just like building a bot that, based off of the way that I was personalizing messages, would read through LinkedIn profiles and personalize messages for that cold outreach, right? Uh, and that was actually the original impetus for the email personalization product
That's not
because that bot was doing really, really well on LinkedIn.
Yeah, but that was our initial go to market, just cold LinkedIn outbound. And yeah, actually got a great amount of leads to that. Because lucky for us, salespeople love to talk. They love to, they're always down to, so yeah.
Exactly. However, you did become vocal on LinkedIn when it came to creating content, especially as you pivoted the last time into the cold calling space. That's how I came across you guys. To be honest, I can't remember whether it was one of your posts or somebody actually promoting the tool itself, but it kind of landed on my radar.
I reached out to you initially. I think it was just a cold outbound. Yeah.
Yes, you did. Yes, you. Now I remember. And I actually, hold on. Now I gotta check out. I remember you reaching out to me, and
I did reach out to you initially because I think I wanted to get some advice from you about like using our tool for hiring SDRs because I knew
you're right. Exactly. I just saw your comment on somebody's post. I'm at YC. Would you like to give feedback, insights on it? Amazing. Like this is pure customer research. I said pleasure to connect, and then you just kept following up with me, and yeah, we eventually had a call. Amazing, dude. Like this is just the way you're supposed to do this.
Exactly. Now I'm relentless, man, when it comes to that.
Of course, but look, I think you guys have a very strong conviction in what you built or are building, right? And I mean, it seems like you had conviction from the moment you sent that first text to Atul, but it just kept growing, and I like pivoting 12 times. That's just insane. Insane in the sense of how many times have you had to like throw everything in the trash and just start over? To me, that's like really respect worthy. So kudos to you guys.
We just have a lot of faith that we're eventually going to succeed. We don't know with what, we don't know how, but we know that if we keep working, we will succeed. Like it's honestly unfounded, but like we have such strong conviction in it that we're going to will it into existence. So that's really just where we're coming from.
All right. Okay. So talk to me about your current sales process. So I just assume, so Sai, you're doing a lot of outreach, I'm assuming still. I can assume you're getting inbound as well, at least now that you've become a little bit more popular. Is that right?
Yeah. So the thing is, we haven't really done much outbound in the last like month or so since we launched. So it's been almost fully, I would say like 90% inbound. And I guess 10% of like somewhat outbound. Like when I say outbound, it's not cold though. Like they've come into our website, they've tried the demo on our Calendly. So, I'll go reach out to them instead. I'll just connect with them on LinkedIn, send them a LinkedIn message, ask them for their phone number, hop on a call with them, build a bot for them. And yeah, it's kind of like this bottom up approach where we have like SDRs or SDR managers at the bottom, and then they're building these bots, and then they kind of go to their bosses, and then that's how we build the case internally. And then the other way is just like, we have directors and VPs who just book calls with us directly. And those deals just go a lot faster, of course, as you can imagine.
So your persona, your ICP basically is, I'm assuming enterprise companies, big SDR teams, big AE teams, like VPs of sales, CROs, directors, right?
Yeah. Essentially, we look for SDR teams that are larger than 20 people at the very least, but our sweet spot has been teams that are 50 plus. All right. Because that's when you really need the standardization, the skill training that only like a simulation tool can provide.
Gotcha. It's like, ideally you get inbound like that, but you also have to kind of hunt for that as well. I can imagine. But also I think it creates a big difference when, influencers and sales thought leaders like, Bilal, promote you guys. I know that Bilal is an advisor for you guys, for the tool. I'm assuming there's a bunch of other folks who are on board as well. And I like, have they been a factor in getting that inbound and getting those leads?
Oh, huge. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you know Florin. Uh, what's his last name again?
Florin
Tattoo.
Florin.
Tatulea, yeah.
Yeah. So Florin Tatalea, huge. Like literally, he made one post about us. It got 1 million impressions on LinkedIn.
Boom.
1 million. That's rare. And so that was insane. He, I think, single-handedly got us 1,000 leads onto our website, and 1,000 plus, yeah, for sure. And then Saad Khan is one of them. We have a lot of folks. Holy shit, yeah. Like we have
Like
actually
Ryan Scalera, like
Ryan
yeah,
Sco-
no, it's
did some amazing content for us. Also, like, do you know? I don't know if you know Will Aitken. He's about to
Of
make a
course.
post pretty soon as well. You know how he makes really cool videos?
Yeah,
He's about to make one. Will Falkenborg made a cool video for us recently.
I saw. Yeah, he's on your company page.
And oh yeah, the Deal team. Yeah, you know Deal.com.
Of course.
Do you know Melissa Gaglione? So she got the entire AE team at Deal to make like a full Hyperbound video for us. So yeah, and by the way, none of these things are like, we don't ask them. Everything has been pretty organic. Like Will messaged me this morning and he's like, hey, I want to do a video for you guys. Can we hop on a call? I'm just like, okay. Yeah.
like Josh Braun made a video completely unprompted for us as well. There's been like Mike Manzi on like TikTok and like Instagram Reels. We've been getting a lot of leads through TikTok, which we never expected because we don't have any presence there. But yeah, it's insane. So
Yeah. I think that goes to show how big of a product market fit you guys have, and it's so crazy. You're so early in this, you just a few months in, and there's already clear signs of product market fit, demand, and people just talking about you. I'm talking with you guys. I mean, you're on this podcast. Obviously, I'm not that big, but still, it's like everybody wants to be friends with you guys. So yeah, including I told you this, Atul, when we spoke last time. Like, just when you become a unicorn in like 6 months, just remember your friend Stefan. No, but guys, like you've been doing an amazing job. I'm curious, how quickly are your deals closed? Because here's why I'm at. Usually, selling to enterprise companies, it's a sales cycle of 6 to 18 months. Like literally, it just depends on the industry. From what you guys are saying, I can just assume like you haven't even been selling this longer than, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months.
Since the launch is we've been selling this. Yeah, it's been like a month, a little over a month.
And you've already closed deals, right?
Yeah, we've closed. How many have we closed? We closed around like almost 10 or so. No.
check the HubSpot. But yeah, like and to be transparent, right? Like we're really far in the process with some of these larger enterprises. But even like the people who want to move the fastest of these companies, like the best they can do is like May. So we've got like commitments from these people, but like like we're very much in the process there. Like closing smaller companies has been much easier. So like people think like on the range of like 20 to 30 to 40 reps. We've seen some of those close in as little as like a day and a half.
Yeah.
And some of those take like a week or two.
We just had a company with 50 seats just close in like 3 days. That's crazy.
That's what I mean. So again, it's a testament to the product market fit, and just you guys are solving a real issue, a huge issue. I can see this being implemented in more than just the tech sales space. So anyone basically doing cold calls could be practicing this, and we're talking from insurance and banking companies, B2C people. I mean, companies selling to B2C. Like, it's just, okay, maybe 6 months is too fast, but I'm pretty confident you're gonna get huge real fast. So again, I said it first.
I don't know if you've heard of the recent FCC ban on robocalls for cold calling, right? They like reaffirmed the ban, and like that also like kind of increases the urgency for training for cold calls, right? Like there was a long time where there was this fear that AI is going to replace cold calling, but no longer the case. So it's like everyone's got to get back on training and getting better at this.
Exactly. And also, I've been observing the whole 2023, maybe even 2022. I've been feeling like cold calls have not been very much utilized as much as you've had cold emails, DMs, automations, stuff like that, because simply a lot of tools, similar to how you guys did, they started with the text solutions first using AI, and then it's just too crowded. Like other than maybe a few vendors in the market, everything is just noise. People are using AI to generate, well, shit, cold emails, bad messages, bad practices, whatever. There's just so much noise. And on the other hand, cold calls are not being utilized to that extent at all. And that's where you guys come in. And by the way, the whole United States, they are more prone to cold calling compared to Europe, at least from what I've seen. It's not that common to see cold calling in Europe as much as in the States. Is that something you've seen as well?
Yeah, and in fact, like European customers behave so differently on the phone, as opposed to like European like prospects behave so differently on the phone as opposed to U.S. prospects. Because U.S. prospects are somewhat used to being cold called, and European prospects like really aren't, or at least not to the same degree. And it's just fascinating to watch. In fact, we have different settings in our product for European like prospects and American prospects just because how differently they react.
There are huge differences. I've had the opportunity to sell to both markets, and I mean even Europe differs as you move across Europe. It's like totally different. I don't know, like Australia is again different in some way. I think like it's actually easier selling to Australia. Anyway, but this is so impressive. Can you guys talk a little bit about numbers? Like, what are you expecting to hit when it comes to revenue or at least valuation, something like that? Are you guys allowed to talk about those things?
With valuation, we'll keep our cards a little like folded
Fair.
at the moment.
In terms of revenue, I mean, like revenue goals are pretty like aligned with, similar startups in our stage. Hopefully by the end of the year, we have some pretty lofty goals. And I think so far we're on track to hit them, even exceed them if we continue growing this way. But yeah.
So, okay. What happens with people who have like 10 SDRs or 5 SDRs, right? Can they actually use your tool? Is it too expensive for them? Do you have like tiers when it comes to pricing? How affordable is it?
So the plan for us right now for those smaller orgs is to launch like a fully self-serve product. And we expect that roughly in like a month, maybe 2 months, to be out with that. But yeah, like we're basically punting that until we have the engineering resources, to make that happen without affecting our core sales. Because we've gotten so much interest from individual users or from groups of like 2 or 3 SDRs, because it's also so valuable. I mean, that's how we're using the product. We're 2 people who needed help with discovery calls, right? So we totally empathize with those users. It's just that the cost structure is so hard to work out at the moment. So when we get that self-serve product out very soon, like that'll be taken care of.
That makes me happy. Like I said, like I'm using it. One SDR that I have on my org, he's practicing on a daily basis using the tool. He's getting better. He just, he sent me a message. Oh, I got her again. That gets funny. And I plan also to use it for training the SDRs in the community, and like just giving the. But that's the beauty of the free version as well, because anyone, literally anyone, can start practicing, especially people who are like students coming out of college, folks who are, I don't know, have never done cold calling before. They can just kick it off and just practice, take any one of the openers and the call structures that are out there and just start cranking it until they figure it out. By the way, can your tool cover different cold calling schools? So, for example, can you implement a different technique? For example, Bilal has his own, George Brown his own, like Justin Michael his own. Like, can we practice different cold calling techniques?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's one thing that we offer to our customers is the ability to build your own sales methodology in, right? Your own like cold calling methodology. And the bot will then become, responsive and reinforce that sales or that cold calling methodology within your reps. So yeah, especially with those like larger customers, that's something they're super passionate about because it's really hard to take in like fresh reps and train them to be consistent about that. But with a lot of practice, you get there.
Yeah. How are the bots actually getting trained? Because like you said, if I'm an SDR manager and I want to train with my reps, I have a limited knowledge of, especially if I'm an SDR manager who didn't get promoted from an SDR into that role, I don't really know maybe my persona, what exactly they're going to say. Where are you getting the data from for like training the bots?
Absolutely. So there's two sides to that coin, right? So like one is what does a prospect, of this job title at this company, like what do they react like, right? The other side is what are their specific pain points, objections, opinions related to this product, right? So for the first one, we have like compiled a huge data set. We have collected a lot of training data. And we have like basically built a model around that that's really, really effective. For the second side, right, we do rely on the customer to provide basically the type of information that they would like to bring up during the call. So like the pain points, the objections, right? And yeah, like our AI fills in the gaps here and there wherever the customer like doesn't know. But we find that it works pretty well. Like between what the customer can put in and what the AI can patch holes for. Yeah, we like it.
And do you make the bots being jerks on purpose, or?
Yeah, funny thing about that is like, most people, when they think of an AI, it's always like a really nice AI. It's like an assistant. You think of like Siri, right? Or like Google Voice Assistant, like they're always very nice to you and they're kind of serving you almost, right? But I think what's hit people in the face when they've tried our tool is just like how rude our bots are, right? Like you realize like, holy shit, AI just shut me down, right? And so it's like always just a big surprise. And we did that on purpose, because it's kind of like, if you can lift heavy in the gym, you can lift anything, right? So that was kind of like the thinking that went into that. Like if you can do well with the rude prospects and book a meeting with them, then you can book a meeting with anyone, right?
And also, bringing things back into like the cold calling terminology, it's a pattern interrupt at the end of the day. Like from like a marketing perspective, like it's so funny to watch people, like have experiences with rude bots and, someone who's going their way. So
First time I tried it, I was literally like, what? What? I started laughing. I was like, are you okay? Okay, so okay, I get it. This is how it works. It was so funny. But on the other hand, that's not unusual to hear on cold calls, actually.
Yeah, in fact, we've been told by a couple customers like we need it to be even ruder. Like,
nice.
We talked to even ruder prospects. So, yeah, no, it was a cool idea, and it worked. So we're happy.
Look, guys, I mean, obviously we could be talking a lot, and I have so many questions, but I want to be mindful of your time. I know that you guys have a ton of things on your plate. So, I know for a fact that there is something that you guys could potentially plug here and promote that's coming out very soon, especially considering when the episode is going to be aired. So can you guys kind of introduce us to the concept?
Absolutely. So very shortly, actually, when this episode is aired, we will be having a cold calling competition hosted by Hyperbound, right? And what it lets you do is all your favorite sales influencers are going to be on there already. They're going to have leaderboard scores within the Hyperbound platform. And what you can do is you can cold call one of our bots and try to beat one of their leaderboard scores, right? And the top performers of this will get selected to the next round where you're going to win prizes sponsored by our partners over at Cognism, ReachDesk, and of course, our partners at Sell Better. So we're really excited for it. It's our first big cold calling event. We think it's going to be really fun.
That is going to be so good, and that has legs. I think that can go that can go far and can go viral. So, all right, I think we can wrap it here. You guys have been amazing. You've built an amazing tool. And for the audience, if I missed asking the guys any important questions, just put a comment below the video, and then we'll follow up with the guys, maybe have them on again at some point. And so until then, guys, do you have any final remarks? Maybe what would you say to cold callers out there?
Our entire mission is to get this product to be as helpful for you as possible. And obviously it is in the early stages. So if you are cold calling every day and you want to get better, or you have like friends that want to get better, have them try out, go to hyperbound.ai, try out our free demo, and feel free to email us. Honestly, we are super responsive. So you can just email us, text us. Like, I think you'll find our phone number somewhere online. I won't drop it here, but you'll find it somewhere online. I'll make you do the work. And yeah, go ahead and just email us with any issues or feature requests or anything where we're going to prioritize those.
Yeah. And to close out, we're so grateful you had us on, Stefan. We're still quite in shock about how fast this whole experience has been moving. So, opportunities like this, we're just so happy to be on.
Appreciate you guys. And I'm really rooting for you. I can't wait to see how big this grows. And yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there to follow you guys along, to promote you. And yeah, thank you for coming on.